Hey there, you. How's it going, man? Can you hear me all right? Hey, Adam. How are you? All right, so just bear with me for a minute as I get things set up and making sure everything's all nice and crisp and clear and that I don't break anything. Well, if you can't hear me, then how did you answer my question? Oh, hey there, lady. How are you? Gonna make some weird noises for a second while I readjust the microphone, making sure everything's all good. I am doing well. It is a lovely evening for me. Hopefully, everybody's having a decent day as well. Okay, so let's see if I can get the music turned on. Okay, is that too loud for you guys, or is that good? Alright, awesome. I don't want it to be where it's so loud that it overtakes my voice, but I don't want it to be too quiet where it can't be heard. Hey there, hero. How are you doing today? Long time no see. Hey, what's going on, PA? How are you? Alrighty, so for the plan here, I'm doing pretty good, PA. I am just trying to make sure that get everything else set up. So the plan here is to do just a casual conversation Q&A kind of thing, and then from there I want to do a live reading of the next installment of the How to Survive Camping series. Oh, hey Seraphin, how are you? I'm glad you can make it, and thank you very much, EO. It is long overdue for me to thank everybody for the 300 subscribers. Hey there, CCG. How are you doing today? Alrighty, so I guess since people are coming in, how about we go ahead and get started? So, does anybody have anything they would like to ask? Anything they would like to say? Anything in between? Doesn't really matter to me. Well, thank you very much, CCG. I appreciate it. That's no problem, Leo. What are you having for dinner? Yes, and if you could please go in and check the description, one for the link of the story that I will be reading, as well as a link to the author. And also there are going to be chat rules in the very bottom that need to be adhered to, and follow any directions the mods give you. Don't make me use my powers against you. Ooh, that sounds really good. Fettuccine Alfredo is fantastic. Now, do you have a secret recipe that you made for that meat sauce, or is it just something that you've picked up? Because that sounds really good. I know your ex, but it's necessary just to maintain a little bit of order in chat, as well as to make sure that everybody that is here isn't being harassed or being affected by anything. Plus, it makes it a lot easier. Okay, PA, gonna warn you, you break all the rules. I like you and all, but I'll have to kick you. CCG, yeah, I guess I'd be up for an interview. Who am I being interviewed by and for what? But, you know what, send that to me in a DM and we can talk about it there. Serafin, you know, you make a pretty good point. I mean, fettuccine alfredo does sound like a name, but at the same time, it can also be made with different things than just chicken, so... I don't know, that's a tough one. I know, PA, I'm just giving you shit. Thank you, CCG. It makes it a lot easier if you just DM it to me. That way it doesn't get lost in chat and we're able to have a more in-depth conversation. Oh, hey Trip, how are you? Nice to see you here. And Baron, hey, how you doing, man? Hey Lucid, how are you? Alright, so now that we have a few people here, how about we go ahead and start with the Q&A before we start with the live reading. So, do you guys have any questions, inquiries, anything stupid you want me to say? Anything in between? So Seraphin asked, what made you get into narration? One, that I've always really enjoyed reading stories, and from there it kind of led into like I guess you could say that like I would always read stories to like my siblings and friends and stuff like that. So over the period of time of doing that, I realized that I really enjoyed it and I wanted to share that with other people. So because of that, I guess you could say I kind of got into the whole narration thing, and then from there I got into Twitter and found that there was a whole community of people that did horror narrations, and then I found creepypastas, and it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. My favorite type of horror, ominous audio, would have to be probably, I would say psychological horror. I like movies and horror that make you think. Anything that really kind of gets the gears turning inside my head. EO asked, how about the basics out of the way, how weekly became weekly? To be honest with you, it was a random name generator on Google. That shows you exactly how creative I am when it comes to making up names. What horror movie villain do you fear the most? That's a tough one. I'm not really sure. Hello, Fear the Great White. How are you? Let's see here. I don't know. That's a really tough one because I can't really think of any movie villain that kind of struck me as being overly dangerous or fearful. I mean, there are those that are psychotic and those that are crazy and those that, you know, can be extremely dangerous, but I feel like they all have that trope that they, you know, fall under. And I can't really pinpoint one that I would say would be the pinnacle of what scares me the most, I guess. Trip asks, are you excited about doing a Q&A? Yeah, I am very excited about doing a Q&A. I always enjoy talking to everybody and getting a chance to interact with everyone. Your ex asked, when are you releasing a mixtape? I will neither confirm nor deny that that may or may not be coming in the near future. All I'm gonna say is that, don't worry about it. Yeah, you're right. But, what was it? Toy Story... Triploid, Stephen King's Dreamcatcher, The Aliens, yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are okay. I don't know, I think for me it's more of the... I think it's more of the fear of the unknown more than the villains themselves. Because again, like I said, I like the psychological aspect of horror rather than the, you know, typical tropes of going straight for like the slasher type film. So I don't know, that's a really tough one. Yeah, I don't really know. My favorite horror narrator or creator. Honestly, I don't really have one in particular that I enjoy more than the other. I enjoy all of them. So, like for example, I listen to Hero, I listen to Lady, I listen to EO, listen to Mr. Creepypasta, Creeps McPasta, who else? Natinator 77, Lazy Masquerade, the stuff, people like that, the ones that have been around for a while, I guess you could say, were the ones that I listened to, but not so much anymore, as it's kind of like I'm reading more than I'm narrating. Lady asks, what is my favorite kind of story to narrate? I like the psychological type of stories, the ones that really make you think, the ones that kind of bring a sense of eeriness without necessarily having to stick with the overall jump scare or the overall type of, oh, there's a killer in the woods and he's coming for you, you know, those type of things. I like the more psychological, or even the more almost historical, I guess, in a sense, those that can be made into like short films, I guess, would be a good way to do it. Yes, Adam, I will sing the Backstreet Boys for you. Seraphin asked, do I have a favorite horror author? To be honest with you, it's going to be kind of a stereotype, but I really enjoy Stephen King. Not a big fan of his newer stuff, but I do like his older books. Like one of my favorites of his olders is the girl who loved Tom Gordon, and that isn't one of his, I guess you could say, more popular stories. It's kind of again, psychological type horror. It's about this child that gets lost in the woods, and instead of there being like this grotesque monster that chases her around or she runs into something, it's all in her head. Everything that happens to her, all the creatures that she envisions and everything like that, it's all embodied in her head. It's what she creates in that environment. Yes, Hero, spooky skeletons are my favorite. Ew, shut up. You don't make crap. I enjoy your stuff. Alrighty, let's see here. Did I miss anybody? When will I release more content on my OnlyFans? Well, just between you and me, I'll be working on that. It's a trade secret. It originally was made as a joke, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It may be something that you know, I might play around with at some point. You never know. Trip Floyd says, always been a good storyteller, and now you're on YouTube. Did you ever think you'd be here? Honestly, no. I never thought that I would be doing any type of narrations or stuff on YouTube. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy the fact that I'm able to do it, and I really enjoy the amount of interactions that I've met, and I've also really enjoyed the people that I've met along the way. EOS, what is my favorite food? That's a really tough one. Well, being a Southern boy myself, I've always been a bit in part and parcel to a little bit of a barbecue. But I think if I were to have to choose something that I would probably eat on a daily basis would be like some kind of pasta. Maybe. Like I do enjoy pasta and stuff like that. PA, do you have a place people can admit sports to yet? Yes, I do. I actually have a Reddit page where if you'd like, you can submit stories, and from there you can also go to my email address and email me anything that you would like for me to take a look at. So I have all of those in the description below. All I need to know is the date, time, and I'll be there. Hey JPC, how's it going, man? Nice to see you here. Alright, let's see here. Did I make anything? When you're not narrating, what do you do for fun? So, I'm a bit weird. So recently I've been getting more into photography and video editing and things along those natures. So I guess you could say like my recent hobby has been more of like I'm working on creating stock footages, stock photos, learning how to use Photoshop, learning how to do more video editing, stuff like that. That's kind of been my my hobby here recently. Ominous Audio, I don't think I have read that story. If you could, send it to me, send a link to me in the DM, and I will definitely check it out. Okay, sounds good, man. Yes, just a bit. Hey, look, JPC, we don't want to talk about the emus here. That we know that there are some people who are very sensitive to that here in the chat, and I don't want them to feel too overly attacked. You know what I mean? But just know that you can call me Emu Senpai. It's okay. Hey, it's not as dangerous as you think. You just gotta be sure that you have a tree that you can climb up. As long as you can get up the tree before they get you, you're pretty much okay. Usually, I mean, there are those options to where they get you before you get to the tree, but if that does happen, well, good luck. Lady shakes fists. Ha! You'll be fine. Horworth Baron asks, Emu Senpai, what are you doing? Well, right now I'm staring at your lovely avatar picture. What are you doing? Do I simp for any horror narrators? Yes, actually, I do. Myself. Best one to simp for, man. Okay, so so for the whole emu thing, lady, I'm going to apologize in advance. So for the whole emu thing, what it is it's an inside joke with lady and a few other people about her being from Australia and the fact that the Australians lost the war against the emus way back in the day. I believe it was the 1930s. And since then, it's been a running joke, and recently Lucid Lupus made a video about it, about it was one of his Chills parodies where he called me Emu Senpai. So from then on, it has it's stuck. I am now the Emu Senpai. Oh, and thank you very much, JPC. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you guys very much for sticking around. And I hope you guys have been enjoying the content. Trip, yes, we should most definitely add emus to the farm, but I am not gonna be anywhere near them. I'll call the Australians. Well, I take it back. They lost. Never mind. I'll take care of it. Well, I mean, we got to give them some kind of leeway. I mean, even though they did lose against the birds, it's okay. I mean, we give them a pass. They've had a rough history. We can't really give them too much credit, too much crap when it comes to that type of history stuff. I mean, they've had their ups and downs, but I feel like they're on an upward slope. Oh, yes. Oh, so by the way, if you guys have not seen it yet, the Hero Skew Lady, Mad Chatter, and myself have made a meme channel at the moment, and we are just kind of having fun with it, playing around with editing, playing around with memes of the community and other stuff like that. So if you just want to laugh or, go and have some giggles, feel free to go check it out. And if you have any type of meme suggestions or anything like that, feel free to DM them to either of us, and we will see about, possibly throwing that in there. JPC, thank you very much for subbing. Yo, yeah, man, you're missing all the fun. You gotta come in, man. You gotta come in and join the fun. Triplet, I agree. It always is good to have fun. Plus, I mean, it also helps with avoiding burnout. Because, like, if use this as an example, like, I know that, like, for me, doing narrations and videos and stuff like that, it can be a bit tiring, and it can also be a bit stressful trying to keep up with everything. And if you don't have any type of outlet to just have fun while also going about and enhancing your skills, learning new tricks and learning new things like that, it can be a bit daunting. So, having a secondary channel where you can just mess around and have fun, it's nice. I enjoy it. JPC, it's okay. You can be a dirty sub. I will still love you no matter what. No. It's okay. If he wants to be a dirty sub, let him be a dirty sub. It's his choice. I don't discriminate against anything. Just let the man be himself. No, absolutely. We do not sub shame here. Okay, look. I mean, I know that you eat off of the polished floor. And it's kind of an issue that we really need to discuss, because I know that you like it to be clean, but I mean, come on, man. You gotta kind of be a little bit more lenient. I mean, he's got his preferences, you have yours. You gotta let him have his. It's not always about you, man. It's JPC. I'm glad she's laughing. Any spooky rumors in towns about you that you grew up in? Asked Triploid. Okay, actually, yeah, there are quite a few. So, without giving too much detail as to the town that I live in, I don't want to accidentally dox myself. That would be terrible. The town that I live in has a few haunted locations one of them being a hotel that has had, I would say, multiple sightings as well as um, movies and stuff like that that have been filmed there, solely for the fact that it is haunted and it is a hotspot for paranormal activity in the area. So what had happened was back in the early, yeah, no, I don't need a cult coming for me. But what had happened back in the early 1920s, there was a fire that more or less had destroyed a good majority of the town, which even now, if you go around and look, some of the older buildings that have been left from way back in the day still actually have the burn and char marks left from that original fire. And when it burned down, there was, of course, fatalities and whatnot like that that unfortunately had gotten caught in there. And due to that, there are locations here that are known to be more haunted than others. That's one spooky story. And then there is a supposed haunted graveyard that I have not really explored yet. And this can kind of lead into Seraphin's question. Have you ever thought about doing content on real haunted locations or ghost stories? Actually, yes, because I find them to be very interesting. They are, not only for the sole fact that they're haunted, but I really enjoy learning about the history of certain places. Like, for example, let's use, like, what would be a good one? Like a sanitarium. See you later, JPC. Or JCP. I really do appreciate you stopping by. It was nice seeing you. But back to the question. So yeah, I have thought about doing real, haunted locations or ghost stories. Mainly for, one, I love the history about them, and I also really enjoy learning about the history of the areas that those instances took place in. Because, I mean, there are, of course, the more well-known haunted locations across the US and across, the world, but EO, don't you be doing this to me, man. Don't you be doing this to me. But there are many places that I would very much enjoy doing I guess you could say like a haunted history lesson on. But I don't know how well that would convert over to the content that I make now. I don't know, it'd be interesting. I mean, would that be something that you guys would want to see or would want to hear me make a video about? Because if so, I'm all for it. I don't know what all it is that you guys would enjoy or what type of stories that you guys enjoy the most hearing. Triple Ed, are you ready to fight off the cult? Yeah, I'm ready to fight off the cult. Let's do it. They just know that I live in the South, and we do like our guns, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so it looks like the general consensus is, yeah, that'd be something you guys would be interested in. Okay, well then that would most likely be something that I would start working on, just for the fact that I really enjoy doing research and and learning about new locations and stuff like that. The happiest, most fun-filled place on Earth. That is where Weekly lives. Adam, I feel like you're giving me a bit too much credit. But, I'll take it anyway, just to boost the ego. But, I feel like it might be a bit of a stretch. Oh, EO, you're fine, man. No, you're fine. Don't worry, you can come over anytime. No problem. Southern boys, mount up. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yes, we are talking about Southern US. So, let's do this. Yeehaw! Yeah, I agree. It would be awesome to see like videos of haunted locations and stuff like that with, my own experiences and whatnot. But I'm a baby and I'm not doing this alone. Anime Ultimate, yeah, you came in and heard something about Southern Boys. You came in at the right time. but but welcome. It's very nice to see you. Alrighty. So, does anybody else have any more questions or anything else they'd like to throw in there? Weekly versus Ghost. I'll come with him. You know what, Adam? Let's do this, man. Let's go. I'm ready. There's some haunted places around that I think we could go. Trip. Okay, so that's 2. All right. It sounds like we're getting a party ready. Let's go. All right, lady. Okay, 3. All right, let's go. And Seraphim. Okay, cool. So now we have a full brigade. Now we just need to come up with the equipment and a meeting place. Oh, hero. Okay, fine. All right. Let's do this. Okay. So I'm gonna have to write a list down. I'm gonna have to get like like a spandex. I'm gonna have to get the full outfit. That way I can blend in with the dark. All right. So we got EO as well. Okay. So all right, we're gonna have to really up our game here. Seraphim's gonna bring the snacks. Nice. Hello, Bony Plater. What are we thinking about? Ghost hunting and doing videos and narrations or stories about real life haunted locations and stuff like that. Oh, EO, don't worry. I'd like you in some spandex. You can trust me on that. As far as in what state, Boney, I really don't know. I feel like it could be anywhere, honestly, because I mean, every place has their own unique story, and every place has their own unique adventure that can be had by just going around. Oh God, where our ghosts shoot back. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, we gotta be sure we duck and dodge and wear Kevlar vests as we come in. So down in Texas, what's your ghost hunting equipment? Well, so we got ourselves a DSLR camera, night vision, of course your thermal detector. Also got ourselves a night vision headlamp, whatnot like that. But we also have to wear ourselves a Kevlar vest and whatnot. Just for the simple fact that in case the ghost decide to get a little gun happy and start shooting back, you know how it goes. Ooh, EO, yes, bring stuff for food. I'm assuming quite a few Anime Ultimate, because I am from Texas as well. And by the way, you misspelled Texas. It's the great state of Texas. Thank you very much. Yeah, we do have a few unlicensed proton accelerators, but we're not gonna talk about those just for the fact that I don't want the CIA coming in here. Ah, nice, Queen Mary. Now that's a very interesting place to go. I've actually been there. I didn't have a camera with me at the time, but most important question, do cats in Texas say meowdy rather than meow? What do you think? Do you think they say meowdy? Hero, yes. My experience when it comes to the quote unquote nerd community, because every place I've ever been to that's had a Comic-Con, or every place I've ever been to that's had some type of like gameplay, or let's just say, let's use this as an example. So I used to have a card shop in my town to where we could always go and hang out, and everybody that I've ever met there was always very friendly, very kind. I mean, and there'd be times to where like you could go in, and if you didn't have a deck of cards, or like let's say we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or something like that, and you didn't bring a deck with you, or the deck you had was incomplete, or you were missing a card or something like that, there was always that one guy that had an extra deck, or people that would allow you to borrow some cards to complete your set, or they would help you teach, they would teach you how to play, stuff like that. And then there's been places where I've gone that atmosphere doesn't exist. It's all more competitive, and it's all more me, and it's just, I don't know, it's a whole different atmosphere when it comes to the quote, like I said, the quote unquote nerd community, so to speak. There's supposedly a Magic the Gathering game online. I have yet to check it out, but I don't know how it is. Wait, Change of Heart got banned? When did that happen? Yeah, Anime Ultimate, I do too. I miss my local comic shops as well. We used to have a very small family-owned comic shop to where the old family and couple that owned it, they were they were, I guess you could say, enthusiasts. So everything that was in their shop were things that they have themselves collected, and things that they, of course, had held over the years and just wanted to either resell or just let people read and go through. It was fantastic. But unfortunately, whenever one of the owner's spouses passed away, they kind of closed up shop because they couldn't find anybody to take it over or buy it. And now that the pandemic is going on, they just completely closed, which really sucks. There is MTG Arena. It's pretty good. I like it. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, because like I said, I know there are a few games online, but I've just never really gotten into them. I mean, I tried playing Hearthstone for a while, but that got kind of annoying and really boring. So I just kind of got away from that. But there is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links that I used to play all the time on the computer just to annoy my cousin. So that was always really fun. Yeah, yeah. EO, at some point, man, we really do need to play a game together. We need to get a we really need to get into a game at some point, because I know we've talked about it before. And you still have your current running game, don't you? What deck do you use in Magic the Gathering? Uh, Dude, currently none. It's been absolutely ages since I've even looked at my deck. Let's see, the last quote unquote expansion pack I bought, I believe, was their limited edition release last Christmas for some type. It was like Ultimate Phasma, something like that. And I bought it because I was planning on putting them into my deck, and then I don't remember what happened. I think one of the cards got banned or something like that, so I just left it alone and they've been collector's items ever since. Okay, EO, I will hit you up in the DM so we can set up some times and place and whatnot. Yeah, every Sunday at 4. Gotcha. I thought so. Okay, so does anybody else have any more any more stories, any more questions or anything they'd like to ask? Because one thing I do want to do for you guys is, since I haven't really recorded a story in a while, I want to go ahead and narrate the next installment of the How to Survive Camping series for you guys. How old am I? I am 25. Single? No, I'm unfortunately I am married. Yeah, unfortunately it's married to Adam. Yeah, absolutely, man. Go for it. I need to make that a proper Discord. Okay. I mean, if anything, Seraphin, hit me up in the DMs and we can we we can talk about some D&Ds and stuff like that, man. I'm sorry, Bony Plater. I'm talking to Ominous Audio. Sorry, when I said Adam. My apologies. Jebaited. Yeah. Jebaited. Okay, so Seraphin says he's ready for the story. He's only so at camping, so he likes tips on how to survive. Well, good thing for you, I do believe I have just the story for you. Is everybody else okay with that? Okay, so got a yes from Hero. Okay. Once the pandemic is over, where do you want to visit outside of the US? So I'll answer the question and then I'll get to the story. So outside of the US, I would very much want to explore the Europe area. Like I would want to go around and explore just more of the medieval era stuff like that, like Italy, Vienna, maybe Barcelona, Greece, the Vatican City, places like that. I would very much enjoy going out and just seeing bits of history that I've read so much about but have yet to actually be able to experience. I'm a bit of a history nerd. Alright, let's see here. Let me open up the story so I can make sure everything's still running smoothly. Just bear with me for 1 second. Okay. No, yeah, you're fine. No problem, man. Okay. Let me get a drink of water, that way you don't hear the entire time I'm talking. Okay. How to survive camping. Something worse than coal. I run a private campground. I have a set of rules to ensure everyone stays safe. But a lot of rules aren't written down because they're not a common threat, or they're not a threat to the campers. The creatures of the Christmas are dangerous only for the people that live here, and usually we do pretty good on avoiding them. But this year we weren't so lucky, and my neighbor was torn apart by a giant cat. Now, if you're wondering why my town would have to worry about an Icelandic monster showing up in America, perhaps you should just start at the beginning. For everyone else, I met the sheriff's quote-unquote buyer. He came by on New Year's Eve. I'll be honest, I had trouble hating him. I was all set up to be rude and angry when he showed up on my doorstep, looking for the camp office. He introduced himself as the person interested in buying the campsite, so I told him I wasn't selling and he just looked bewildered. Hurt, almost. Then he apologized and said the sheriff had told him that I was ready to sell at the end of January, that I just needed to wrap up a few things first. And then he had been telling me that he needed to be present until then, but was just excited. He had some time off and wanted to come down here early and see it when he wasn't busy and, didn't want to stress with the acquisition paperwork. Honestly, I felt bad for him. I have no idea how the sheriff dug him up, but clearly he's been duped. So I took him for a tour. Showed him the woods, fields, and even the family cemetery. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then I escorted him off the property and reiterated that I wasn't selling, and the sheriff was just a little overzealous. He said that was a shame, but he'd stick around a few more days, vacation and all. And if I changed my mind, he had all the finances lined up already. At least now I know the timeline. End of January. I've also alerted my staff to keep an eye out for him in case he comes back. I do not want him wandering around without an escort. A half hour from midnight, I got my tarot card deck out. I laid out a Celtic cross, as someone suggested, and, well, you can just see for yourself. I was sitting on the floor of my living room when the guidebook opened on my phone, trying to figure out if the devil represented the sheriff or the man with no shadow. But if the devil represented the man with no shadow, and whether there's any significance in some of the cards being from the Oak Suite, or if it's just my being bad at shuffling. I've just finished reading up on the chariot and was thinking, well, that's a good sign, when the front door flew open. It smashed into the entryway wall and just hung there, letting in a gust of cold air that stirred and the cards all on the floor. Framed in the doorway was a woman, beautiful, with pale skin like winter frost and hair like snow. Hello? I said tentatively. And you are... She wasn't inside yet, and this was a good sign. All manners of creatures roam the world on the eve of the new year, but most of them cannot enter the home without permission. There are stories of even the devil itself being repulsed from lack of an invitation. I am Pectora, she replied. Do not trouble yourself getting up. I'll invite myself in. She stepped through the doorway open. She stepped through the open doorway. This wasn't a good sign. And worse, I knew that name. Another one of our Christmas time visitors. One that could go where she willed, regardless of whether she was welcomed or not. For good children, she would leave a silver coin. For the wicked, she would cut open their abdomens, remove their stomach and guts, stuff them full of straw and pebbles, and sew them back together again. So a little bit like Santa Claus, but with 100% more murder. Pectora has not visited our town for a long time. Not in my lifetime, but she did in my parents before I was born. They told me of her when I was young and could be frightened into obedience, and then again when I was older, and understood that these stories were more real than I believed them as a young child. They told me how a young man had done something terribly wicked, and one night, in the days leading up to the 12th night, his neighbor had been woken by his screaming. They broke into his house through a window, and that entire time he had not stopped screaming. They entered his room to find a beautiful woman with long white hair standing over him, nodding and sipping through her thread. She turned to them, smiled, and then vanished. He died in the hospital. His abdomen had been sewn neatly up in a straight line, the stitches so tiny they were almost invisible, and when the surgeon snipped them open, bloody straw and bones just bulged from the incision and spilled out onto the floor of the opening of the room. Now, I stared at Pectora as she stood framed by the lights of my entryway, and she held a needle between the pinched fingers in one hand, and her thread was wound around the fingers of the other. I grabbed my deck of tarot cards and scrambled to my feet. Some cards fell from my hand as I sprinted towards the kitchen, but I knew better than to stop and grab them. I could hear her footsteps crossing the living room as I fumbled with the deadbolt on the door leading to the garage. "You've been wicked, haven't you?" Pectora said from behind me, her voice a little sing-song. "St. Nicholas saved you, but I am not nearly so kind." How many did I kill this year? I mean, wasn't it only 2? The camper that died in the hospital, writhing and vomiting blood, and Jessie, who died screaming as she burned. I mean, come on, I've had worse years. "I did what was necessary," I panted, throwing myself through the door, slamming it shut behind me and locking it. It jolted as Petra slammed into it, and I was thrown backwards. I dove for the other door, the one leading outside, and got it open just as the door was ripped off its hinges. It clattered noisily onto the floor of the garage, and I ran out into the cold air, letting it fill my lungs, fighting through the initial shock that threatened to rob me of all my ability to breathe. I was running, down through the yard, towards the end of the driveway. I had no idea where I could go to get away. Petra was once a goddess. I mean, perhaps she still is. I don't really know if ancient beings can lose their divinity, or perhaps divinity is merely a word that only has meaning for humanity. Her status as a former goddess has certainly done nothing to lessen her power. I reached the end of the drive, and at first I thought to cut towards the road. I could try to reach Brian and his dogs, but there was something standing on the asphalt. Multiple somethings, in fact. Their heads hung sideways at odd angles, and their limbs swayed in the wind. I veered wide around them, confused, unsure of whether or not I should go around or just go the other direction entirely. Then my eyes adjusted in the darkness, and I realized what they were. Scarecrows. And their heads snapped up, still hanging sideways on loose necks, but the empty spots where their eyes should be were just fixed on where I stood, hesitating, keenly aware of the woman with white hair making her way steadily down the driveway at a confident, unhurried clip, the pace of a predator that knows it's only a matter of time. I began to back away, and then, in the corner of my vision, I saw a large shape lunging at me from the darkness. From just outside the reach of my porch lights, I dodged to the side, stumbling on the damp grass and almost falling. Its arms passed over my head, and I smelled damp straw and a foul stench, the smell of rot. And then I was sprinting across the field and leaving the scarecrows behind me. The tree line rose up before me. The darkness was impenetrable between the trees, but it was the darkness of my childhood, and there was a sense of safety hidden inside that forest. I just had to reach it. And then what? Just keep running all night? I don't know, I couldn't think. My reprieve was short-lived. I heard a noise from my right shoulder, and I risked a glance backwards. The scarecrows were racing across the field after me. All of them were. They ran in great, loping strides on all fours like animals, and their limbs seemed elongated, thin, more like gangling canines in human forms now. They were rapidly gaining. I mean, I kept running, hitting the tree line, and the grass gave way to just dead leaves. I knew it was hopeless, and I couldn't possibly outrun them. I stumbled through the underbrush, and then one hit me. A bodily impact that took me off my feet, and I landed on my side. Felt a weight fall over top of me, pinning me to the ground. I struggled, kicking and punching, and my fingers clawed straw from the back of its head, and my knee connected with something soft. Something that came free with a sickening sound, like the last jam releasing from the bottom of a jar. Something like rope, but slick and wet, landing on my legs, and I gagged at the stench of bad meat. Now I know what Petra does with the intestines of her victims. I seized the scarecrow's arm with both hands and retched, and the straw parted, and I tore it clean off. The scarecrow's body's lifted, off balance, and one last blow to its side knocked it off of me. It writhed on the ground, trying to stand, more intestines spilling out of the hole in its midsection. I rolled and pushed myself up. Then, another blow. This one took me off my feet and kept me off my feet, slamming my back up against a tree. My chest seized up in the impact, and for a moment I could only feel the agony radiating from beneath my ribcage. And then, they were buried underneath the ice of terror. Petra's hand was around my neck, and it was then that she held me pinned, my feet straining to touch the ground, my tarot cards laid strewn across the forest floor. Necessary, perhaps, she said, answering my earlier plea for understanding, but no less wicked. A twist of her wrist and her bone needles shone ivory in the moonlight. She pushed my shirt up and out of the way, and I felt the point of it against my skin, just above my belly button. The woman leaned in close to me, and her breath on my neck felt like frost. What else am I to do? I whimpered. I'm trying the best I can, but I can't save everyone. You can save them all, she hissed in my ear. She released my neck and let my feet hit the ground, but I remained pinned with my back against the tree. She pointed her needle, digging deeper into my stomach. I whimpered low in the back of my throat. She bent over langingly, the needle immobile against my skin. Her thin fingers plucked one of the fallen tarot cards from the ground. She held it up in front of my face. Justice, questioning my rules, examining it for its triumphs and its flaws. "I don't know what you're trying to tell me," I whispered. "I don't know what I'm doing." "Figure it out," she said grimly, and the needle pierced my skin. I yelped in pain, but it wasn't as bad as I expected. And then it exited, 2 bright points just above my belly button, and she was knotting the thread, and she snapped it with a jerk, eliciting another brief moment of blinding agony as a stitch pulled tight against the wounds. She just left, and I pulled my shirt up and stared at my stomach in the moonlight and saw a faint line of white skin against my skin. The single stitch that she sunk into my flesh with her needle. I fell on my hands and knees and just vomited. When I recovered, I stepped back on my knees and looked aside, panting, waiting to stand until after the dizziness passed. Then, I gathered up my scattered cards and returned to the house. I broke the stitch once I was home and cleaned and bandaged the wound. I tried to sit at the table and tried the tarot once more, but I just couldn't focus. I drew 1 card and then stopped. This was ridiculous. I didn't know what I was doing. Even if this did mean something, I didn't have the knowledge to interpret it. I was looking for answers from the tarot because I thought that was what was expected method of divination, but it wasn't the only one. There are patterns of these creatures I deal with, patterns to the stories, and all I do is pick the one that fits best. The tarot cards were just not fitting. I'm too unfamiliar with them. I mean, I'm even shit at shuffling. Fortunately, just as there are many variations of the Cinderella story, there are many variations of how to divine the future. So, here's what I did. An older method. I took the candle from the bedroom, the sheriff's candle, and poured some of the wax into a spoon. I then poured that into a cup of cold water and stared down at the resulting image. It collocated into a blob at the 2 empty spaces with two empty spaces that looked like eyes, and then a skull started floating in the cup of water. I have the 3rd item. I wandered the campsite for hours, and just before sunup I found him, the man with the skull cup. I told him I was trying to claim my favor, and he held very still when I spoke. Then he smiled when I said what it was that I wanted. "To save the sheriff," he murmured, running a finger along the rim of the cup contemplatively. "Do you read Reddit?" I demanded, "or do you gossip with the dancers?" His eyes flicked up to stare at me in unspoken reproach. That man with the skull cup merely tolerates my sarcasm. I mean, the silence between us stretched out until my nerve broke and I coughed and awkwardly changed the subject. So, where am I going to find that house?" I asked. "I cannot tell you. I have no more ability to read the future than you. I see patterns and possibilities, and perhaps I see ones that you miss while you struggle in this web, not of your own making, but even I do not know what the house master is." "I'm tired of these puzzles," I muttered. What web?" He sighed softly and shoved the cup in my hands. "You continuously disappoint me. The man with no shadow has you ensnared, and you focus on a single strand of his plan. Would you help me fight him?" A question asked on impulse, born of a wild hope that the man with the skull cup had no fondness for his neighbor. His expression went carefully blank, and while he only displayed the emotion he chose to, disdain, usually this felt even more controlled than usual. "This is all the help I will give you," he said dismissively. "Our agreement is concluded." He told me I could have the cup until the next full moon. "I must be careful not to spill it," he said sternly, "for it will take a heavy cost to fill it again." The cup sits on my dresser, between the candle and the folded mantle. As for the finding the house, well, it wasn't able to divine its next appearance, but maybe I don't need to. Remember the young man the old sheriff rescued? He found it. It vanished because he attacked it with his car, but he still found it. He didn't have any knowledge of divination to help him. He just drove until it appeared. Brute force may be ineffective, but it worked. I've got a route planned through all the places it tends to appear, and every day until the new moon, I'm gonna go looking for it until I find it. My aunt has agreed to drive, since I don't really have a car right now, and she needs something to distract her, she says. The house is lonely without her husband. I am a campground manager. I can't read the future. I don't know what Petra, or anyone else for that matter, expects of me. I can only understand what I think is right, and what must be done, and maybe I am missing something. Maybe there's a bigger picture here, and the man with the skull cup is right. I'm thrashing in a web I can't even see. But I gotta be honest, I really hate that sheriff. Anything that ruins his day is a win in my book. So that's what I'm going to focus on, because I'm only human, and I'm not that clever. And I'm just doing the best that I can. I will say this though. I've commented in the past that we've had bad years where our death and injuries are significantly increased, and that I started looking for early signs in the year. I think I've seen a sign already. The bloodied piece of string I ripped out of my own flesh. This is going to be one of those bad years. And there you go. That is How to Survive Camping, Something Worse Than Coal. Now, I do highly encourage you guys to go in and check out the story in the description, as well as give the author a check as well. There are multiple stories of his that I have yet to catch up on, which I will do in the future, but he is continuously and constantly adding new stories to his lineup. Alright. Well, thank you guys. I'm very glad that you enjoyed it. Lousy clerics in there flipping through the player's handbook. Finally granted abilities over life and death. Yeah, Seraphim, you're about right. Oh, Ominous, you're fine. You weren't that great at a cleric. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But thank you guys. I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. So, is there anything else that you guys would like to ask, or anything else you would like for me to do before we end the stream here? I know it's a little bit short, but first stream, just kind of getting used to everything, figuring out how it works. I don't see anything else popping up in the chat. Lady asks, when will you stream again? I don't know. I've really enjoyed this stream, so I think I might try to do it more often. Maybe once a week kind of thing. I don't know. I will talk to the voices in my head, and we will reconvene with an answer later on. Ominous. I don't want to bring this out in public. I don't want to embarrass you in front of everybody. I really don't. But I like you as a friend. I mean, you have a nice ass. Don't get me wrong. You do. But I mean, there has to be more, man. There has to be a substance there. You know what I mean? It just can't be one-sided, you know? And I feel like it's a bit one-sided. I'm sorry. I know that was a bit harsh to bring out in public, but I had to do it, man. I had to let it go. I just had to let it be known. Ominous, it's okay. Just don't commit those sad boy choices too violently, okay? Just know that I'm always still here for you. It's just the love it's a bit much. I mean, booty call at the most. Triple Eight asks, when will you do ASMR? I don't know, honestly. I've thought about it. I want to talk to some ASMR channels, and I also want to have a conversation with Mad Chatter as well, since he has started an ASMR channel, to get some tips and tricks. But I mean, would that be something that you guys would be interested in me doing? if that's something that you guys would be interested in me doing in the future, I mean, I would, you know, I'd be willing to give it a shot and see. Maybe that would be what goes on my OnlyFans account. Do a little bit of a smut ASMR. Alright, well, it seems like, love to see me doing a roleplay. You've seen me do a roleplay. We've played D&D together. Okay. Alright, so it looks like, I believe that's everybody's questions. Does anybody have any more questions? Anything else they would like to add before I wrap things up here? Okay, alright, Ominous. I'll give you more, but it's gonna have to be on my terms. If you know what I'm saying. Meow. Oh god, that video still gives me nightmares. Oh, I hate it. There are not very many videos on YouTube that I'm just like, why was that made? Why does... that was one of them. Yo, I'll send it to you in a DM. And Hero, thank you very much for all of the info. If you guys would like to get in contact with me in any of the links posted below, and feel free to submit any stories as well. And if you would like, there is a Teespring, Patreon, and of course my OnlyFans for the most dedicated of rambunctious followers. But yeah, I think for that, I believe that's probably going to wrap it up. And good night to you as well, Trip. Thank you guys for showing up, and thank you very much for 300 subscribers, and I cannot wait to see what happens from here on out. I am going to try to upload more frequently. I'm just not getting back in the groove of things, so we should start seeing more. You guys should start seeing more content from me in the future. But until then, you guys have a fantastic rest of your night, and I will see you guys around. Adios.